this nasty scuff on the side of the car here. So we're going to do a little bit of a smart repair on it. Going to take it back, going to fill it, mask it off and paint down, blowing it in. Not going to paint the whole panel, going to try and keep it contained. Let's see how we get on. Going to use a fibre head. You can use wet and dry, you can use a 3M Scotch-Brite to do it, just to get it down, get rid of the rusty bits and take through the first layer of paint. Let's give this a bash. I'm using this little Milwaukee sander polisher. What a fantastic bit of kit. These fibre heads are just like spin off, lock in really quickly, like a quick release system. Get them all off of Amazon. I've put the links in the description for it. This fibre pad, it's getting through and it's not too aggressive. I'm not sure though that it's getting deep enough. It's smoothing it out really nicely, but I think I'm going to have to put a more gritty head on it just to get into the deep bits and get the rust off. But we'll give it a go on this one just to see how we get on. It's not too aggressive. It's not going to really rough it up too much. I'll just put it on fast here because you don't want to see me going through every single step of it. But look at that, it's taking it down really, really nicely. But just to get into those, the deep, I'm going to have to put a grit on it. We want to contain this though, we don't want to go too mad. I don't want to get too high with it. I want to keep it all, like I say, keep it contained. We'll give it a wipe down with a bit of blue roll. Links are in the description again. This stuff is so useful, it's really, really handy. That's gone away quite nicely though, that. You see the difference this has made. This is the little grit head. And it's really getting into that, getting that rust out, the little crack. This Dent has been on here quite a while and the muck and water has got in there and caused a little bit of corrosion, so I've got to get that out before we paint it or fill it. We don't want it rusting from behind. There we go, that was a little 240 grit pad and that sort of took it down a bit nice. Got rid of the rusty bits that were on the paintwork there. Let's give it a wipe down and we'll get some filler in there. Just got a bit of teacup. I'm just going to try and get rid of these marks on the top here just to be sure that they're nothing that's going to give us any grief later on. We'll give that a shake. The old faithful teacup. I've had this can for years. It's it's got to be 10-year-old, probably more. But it lasts for ages. It really does. Great for paintwork though. It's just roughs up the surface a little bit. Allows the filler to stick. Yeah, that's all come out nicely. Pop that cap back on and then we'll just give it a little wipe down with a nice soft rag. Just buff it up a bit, remove any residue. And then that'll be ready for popping a bit of filler on. I'm going to use a fine filler on this one. It's not that deep. I've got a link here for some P38. And I'm going to use it onto this beetroot board, this paper pad. Again, links from description. It's brilliant. You can mix up on there and then when you finish you rip it off. So we've got a bit of, just one small amount of filler there, and this is going to be way too much, but it's hard to mix in really small amounts. I mean, I can't get much smaller than that really. I put a kind of pea-sized drop of hardener on there, because it is like epoxy. You've got to mix it up. The chemical reaction then will make this go off pretty quick. By the time you've mixed it, you've got about 5 minutes of application before it starts to really set, and then you got to throw it away and go again. Let's do it. This is always a bit fiddler. You got to get it on. You can't faff too much with it. You've got to kind of get it on the car. And I'm faffing a bit too much here, to be fair. I should have left it at that screed then. I think that was the one. Because to get it in one go is pretty tricky. It's going to take probably 2 sort of screeds of filler. We'll put it on, we'll sand it back, and then we'll go again. But look, you see, I'm faffing now. I've gone at it, and now I'm going over it again. And the more times you go over it, the more chance you got of getting an air bubble in it. I'm still like, I'm looking, I'm thinking a little bit more, maybe just a tad more there. Yeah, like now I'm going again. The key to it is get it on quick with a reasonable amount, and then just flat it back, and you're good to go. But you see, I'm going again. Look, I'm faffing. I'm just trying to build it. In my mind, I'm thinking I've got to get a bit of thickness there to fill the dent. But yeah, you see, I'm still faffing. Look, I'm a faffer. Look, I'm going again. I'm faffing again. But never mind. We're enjoying ourselves. Look, it's like playing with mud pies. I'll just take that bit off the edge, because again, I don't want to go too far. I don't want to go too high. I want to keep it below that shadow line of the bodywork. So again, if I can just keep it all contained, because it will make the paintwork, the spraying side of it, a lot easier. I don't want to really layer this up and have to sand it down too much. If I can keep a nice line on the bottom as well, it's going to save me a lot of work flattening back, and it will make the painting a lot easier. But I'm pretty pleased with that. It don't look too bad. Yeah. Good for sanding. Good for sanding back. Let that go off. So what I've got is a 180 grit pad. You could use sanding blocks to sand it back, but I'm going to go with the DA sander. Now obviously this is running off a compressor off the airline. You could use a sander, like an electric sander. You would get some scarring lines in it if you're not careful. You've got to use a really fine grit on one of those. This DA will shift a lot of dirt. It will shift a lot of fibre off of there pretty quickly. It does a really good job. You can see there it's nearly smoothed down already. It keeps it nice and flat, and these pads are all removable. But you could do it by hand. You could use wet and dry, rough wet and dry, just work your way down through the gradings until you get it nice and smooth. Just blow off that dust. Again, the compressor's so handy for all of this stuff. I mean, look at that, just bang the old air blower on there and all the dust off the car is away. Makes life so much easier, all the, the cleaning down and everything. Get a bit of wet and dry. This is 600 grit. And this is where you really see how your work's done, how your filling's done. You can get that, as soon as you get the wet sheen on there, you can see any imperfections. And we'll wipe that down, and you can see now how we're done. That's not too bad. It's not too bad. You can see now I've just got a few little pits. There's a little hole there. So another quick screeding across with a bit more filler. Finish that off, and it should be, once sanded back, that should be ready to go. Beauty of these mixing papers, this beetroot board, you can just literally grab hold of that sheet there where all that old filler's gone off. Did a bit too much on the first mix. We just peel that off. Ready to go again. And that's all the old stuff stuck to that. It's brilliant. This time we're going with a much smaller amount there. Same again though, we'll just mix it up, give it a good mixing in, work it in. We've got to get an even amount of mix there so that hardens in with the rest of the filler. And again, that will go off quick now because I've got quite a good amount and a little amount of filler, so a lot harder compared to the filler. It's going to go off pretty quick. And you only need a tiny amount just to fill that little hole and just go over it and hopefully get a nice finish this time. Make sure we've got no dust on it, and then let's go for it. Let's try and keep it, like I say, keep it contained, and I want to just get it on there and really go nice and fine with it. These plastic applicators are a must. You can't put it on with anything else. You can't put it on with like a metal scraper or anything like that. You need these plastic applicators to get a really nice finish on it. You can't use a bit of cardboard or anything like that. It's got to be one of these applicators. You'll never do it with anything else. Not to get a reasonable finish on it. They're not expensive. Like I say, I'll put the links in the description. Trying to keep it contained again. I don't want to go high. I want to keep that lip of paint. I think that's about right. We've let that go off again, and I'll be back at it with a wet and dry. And literally, because I'm not taking much off this time, I'm going to wet and dry that down. and try and get it as smooth as possible. You got to be careful when just using your hand, because you can go at it and it won't be flat, because your hand's not flat, daft as it sounds. If you're struggling, a block within the wet and dry will make sure that you have got a nice even finish there. But I'm working around the edges here. I'm just trying to get that, just to get it nice and smooth. It's looking nice. Yeah, again, wipe it off with a blue roll. How's it looking? Is it smooth? Are we happy with it? A little bit more sanding down the bottom there. Just try and get off any bits that I've just messed up. You can get a really nice smooth finish with this. It is great stuff. They're wet and dry. What do you reckon? That looks good to me. Should we get some paint on it? We'll mask this off. We'll mask off the area. I'm going to use the crease in the car there, the actual body line, the shadow line is going to be my border. So I'm going to masking tape off along that border line there, and then I'm going to fade it in, like I say, into this part here. So let's mask it all off. So we'll get this tape out. This is just a reasonable quality masking tape, and I'm going to go along that line, like I say, along that shadow line where that body shape changes. And if you use the angles of the bodywork, you can generally hide a piece of paintwork. If you're looking for it, you'll see it. If you're really particular, you will see it. But to the normal eye, you'll never notice it. You'll never see that it's been repaired. Like I say, it's a good way of disguising a piece of paintwork without painting the whole panel. Because if you go for the whole panel, chances are you're going to get a slight discrepancy in paint, and you'll see a different colour between the door and the back panel, or the bumper and the back panel. So unless you're going to paint the whole side of the car, it's very, very difficult to get a perfect match. But doing it like this, you're containing it. That should be enough to do it. Beautiful. Right, we need the paint coat. So if you pop the door open and just come down here, and you see there's the plate, and at the bottom there, colour KTB. Now I'm going to be using a spray gun, but if you haven't got one, you can use these spray paints. Links in the description, off of Amazon. So here we go, let's get the paints on the go. We're going to mix them up and get them into the spray gun. Got some nice silver metallic there, look. We'll give it a good stir. Make sure it's well mixed up. Got the old faithful screwdriver there, look. I'll pop it into my little paint mixing tub. We've got to mix this with a bit of thinners. Make sure that lid's on nice and tight. Right, and we'll mix up 50-50 with this. So we've got 50% paint and 50% thinners. So we'll get that in there. Now I am mixing quite a bit here, which will all become clear in the next video I'll be making, but there's enough here to respray the car, look. And that can go straight in the gun. So out to the car then, and let's get some paint on. We're just gonna this metallic silver KTB colour. Silver can be quite a funny one to match, but I'm just blowing this in really, really gently. We've not got to get a massive amount of colour on, because we're going to put a top coat of lacquer over this. It's like a 2-pack kind of makeup. So we're just going to get a nice light coat of this over the top. If you were really going for this, you could have primered it first. You could have put a small amount of primer on there, but then you're risking overspray. Let's have a coffee and then we'll have another coat. Here we go. Look, let that go off a tad. We'll come back with another coat of paint. Just drop that in there. And as long as we've covered it all and it's looking quite nice, I don't want to go too thick near that masking tape line on the top, because otherwise it's going to be more chance you'll see it when I take the tape off and the lacquer and everything. So that's a nice waft in there. Lacquer time. So now we've got to mix up the lacquer, which is a little bit different. It's a bit of a calculation on this one. I've got the scales, I've got a plastic jug. I want to make 200 millilitres of lacquer, but what you've got to do is mix in thinners, hardener and lacquer together. It's on the calculation is 4 parts lacquer, 2 parts hardener, 1 part thinner. So for 200 millilitres, we're going to use 28 mil of thinners, 56 of hardener, and the rest is going to be lacquer. That's very close. It's about 196, but it's close enough for me. So let's get that going on. So we'll go with the thinnest first. We'll try and get that in as close as we can to 28, which is easier said than done, because I'm going to get it all over the... Oh, it's going everywhere. You have to destroy your scales. Oh, let's tip some in there. 20, 25, yeah, 20, 29, that's close enough for me. Okay, so now we've got to take that up to 56 with hardener. There we go, that's pretty close. And then we're getting it all over the scales. Let's pop the lid back on that. And then the rest of it is going to be the lacquer. $150, 65, 70, 80, 90, 200, just over. It's pretty close. Okay. Let's give that a good stir. Get the scales out of the way. Got the gun. Let's get that into the gun. Oops, stays it. And go out to the job. Now lacquer goes on really fast. It's quite thin and you got to be so careful with it. It comes out the gun like there's no tomorrow. So you can see how much quicker that is coming out of there, and I'm only just really gently giving it a small blast. Key to spraying with this is an HVLP gun. You pull the trigger slightly, you get just air out, and then you pull it a bit more and you get the paint coming out as well. So you can hear the air constantly coming. If I just pull the trigger slightly more, that's when the paint comes. But the constant flow of air, always on the job, keeps it nice, keeps the lacquer going. It sort of makes it go off a bit quicker, and also you can blow out some imperfections with it. There, I've got a bit of dust as dirt has gone into my paint. I can't believe it, but then I'm outside. Hey ho. Typical look. I'm pretty happy with that. I think we can take the masking tape off and let it go off, let it go nice and hard. We'll get it off before it goes off too much. We're going to see a line, and what we'll do is wet and dry that line in and polish it all up, and you shouldn't be able to see it. It should be sort of invisible to the eye. Obviously we've got a piece of muck on in the paint there, which you know, we're outside, can't be helped, but I'll have to probably just do something with that. It might even come out when I polish it, who knows, let's see. If I was being really fussy, I'd have left that masking tape on there, I'd have flatted that back and sprayed it again, but I'm not that fussy, you know, we're not. Bless the old car, he'll bash it tomorrow anyway. So already from that, it's not looking too bad at all. We've got a little bit of a line there, but like I say, we can blend that in. This will all polish out here. I've got a little bit of a run. I've got a drip, got a very small drip, only in the lacquer though. So again, I'll be able to flat that out and polish it back. So I'm not too fussed about that. But overall, that don't look too bad, does it? So we'll let this go hard. We'll give it a couple of hours to go off, and then we can have a work at it and see if we can't get that shine and get rid of the little seam line there, the masking line. But I'm pretty confident we'll be able to do that. So got just a little bit of thinners on there. I'll just show you what I can do with that. Look, just rub down that overspray line. Straight away you can see it vanishing, look. And that is literally just neat thinners on a bit of blue roll and just wipe at it. It just lifts the fresh paint straight off. You can just, again, be really careful, really gentle, and just save yourself a bit of sanding back. Because obviously the original paint that's on the car is a lot harder. It's been on there a long while, so it's not really interfering with that. But this new overspray is just whipping that straight off. Just put a little bit more on my rag for another quick wipe down. Just gently work along that edge, just smoothing it in. Like I say, thinners works wonders if you're careful with it. And already you can see that's making a difference and it's blending it. I'm not going to go crazy on that top edge with it, just a very, very little bit. So it's just started raining outside. It's only really, really spitting, but even so, I brought it under the carport. I've got the hot air blower in. I'm going to just go over this area with the hot air blower and try and speed it up a little bit, try and get it to cure a little bit faster. Let's go with it. Get it on nice and hot and just waft over it, get that panel up to about 30 degrees, and it will make that paint go off nice and hard at a far quicker rate. Okay, so I've got my bowl. I'm just going to work this. I've got the wet and dry. I can just try and work on this line across the top there with the wet and dry, nice and gently, and just see if we can just ease it a bit. Now I'm hardly touching this. I'm going at it really, really gently. Really gently. Just work that line. And there's a bit of gentle faffing, you know, just slowly working it. Got me run there as well, haven't I? Nice to bring that down a bit. Really gently on the old sand in there. Just keep it really wet. Lots of water on the wet and dry, and just slowly work it. I managed to get that run out, so that's good. All right, so I'm gonna get some tea-cut on it. See if we can bring that back up. Okay, here we go. Let's have a go with this. I'm using the Auto Glim applicator pad. It works really well with these polishes, especially tea-cut. You can go at it, it sticks to it, it holds the tea-cut within the sponge, and then just an old bit of t-shirt there. Just got a little bit of overspray around this area here. You can just hear it a bit rough. This up here's nice though now. You can actually hear that, the roughness as I'm rubbing the wet and dry over the overspray, so you know when you've got it smooth, because that will stop. I just keep working at it, and then I'll buff it back with tea-cut again and really get that shine up. We'll just give it a wipe down with blue roll, dry it off. You can tell how smooth that's getting now. And then we can get our tea-cut on there, like I say, and give it a real good buffing. Look at him go. Look at that. Tea-cut generally better working in straight lines. Well, that certainly sounds better. When I say straight lines, I mean like don't circular polish when you're applying it, just backwards and forwards.
Oh yeah. Yeah, much nicer. Got it. That's wonderful. So that's the final. You can see that there. If you look really closely, you can see the line in the paint, but as soon as you drop out and you're not looking at it, it doesn't catch your eye because of the shadow, so you can't really see the joint. Really pleased with that. If you enjoyed the video, nice repair on the back of the car there, all sorted, and it's off to fight another day. Bless it. Drop me a thumbs up, like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.